Hey y'all, it's your favorite girl Courtney with Keep It Connected podcast show. And I want to welcome you back to another episode here with Keep It Connected. So before we go any further, I just want to make sure everyone like, share, and subscribe. Invite someone over to Keep It Connected and share what's going on with us. And most importantly, share this episode because it may help you or someone that you know. So, moving right along, this episode is a special tribute to all of the veterans. As you know, this month is November, and November the 11th is a date that symbolizes Veterans Day. A lot of times, the schools, local and state, federal agencies, businesses take the time to observe this holiday because it honors all of the men and women who have served in the army in all branches. So it just symbolizes a special day of honor for those who have protected, who have served, and sacrificed their time and even lives to protect us here in the United States. So before we go any further, we just want to thank each and every one of you who are actively serving, who has served, and who unfortunately lost their lives to this. So we want to thank you. So I have the honor and privilege to interview and most importantly talk with my own veteran, which is my dad, Jeff. Growing up and now in an adult, I've heard my dad talk about different stories about the army and where he served and just different things that kind of allows him to go back in that time. And he would explain to me kind of what it was and how it felt. But now I kind of get to pick all the pieces to the puzzle on what it really means to him. So I have it as an honor, and most importantly, I have it as an informative way to share with my kids one day on what my dad did, and with anyone like you that you have in your family, encourage them to sit down with you and explain what it means to them. And I'm pretty sure you will find out something that you didn't know. So, my dad's name is Jeff. If many of you guys didn't know, and I just asked him like, "Come on, we keep it connected and share some information." So one of the things that I did know but didn't quite know in detail that my dad served 7 years in the Army. It was actually 3 years of active duty and four in the reserve. So before I go any further, Dad, what does Veterans Day mean to you?
Okay. How you doing, Courtney, today? Thank you for inviting me.
Yes.
This is a pleasure. This is an honor. What Veterans Day means to me, it reflects it. It takes me back to the moments, the time, the experience, the camaraderie that we have amongst veterans. If you will ever see veterans meet that don't know each other, we can go on with conversations for hours for the first time. So there is a true connection with veterans. And when we do honor Veterans Day, it makes my heart warm to know that agencies are allowing us to get free car washes, get oil changes, haircuts, or what
Mm-hmm.
have you. They really giving us the front stage of honoring us, and it's time for us to be honoring it, and we thank you for that.
All right.
Mhm.
Well, I honestly have known, of course, since I've been in school and, of course, as an adult, actually taking the time off for Veterans Day. But during the time, of course, that you served, what kind of have you participated in on Veterans Day or throughout the year that, of course, honors you, but honor people that are among you?
Um, well, pretty much like most veterans, we volunteer in a lot of different ways across our communities. And not only in our communities, but we just have a inner mechanism that causes us to want to help people.
Mm-hmm.
Whether your car's stranded or something happens, we see something going on, a fire, somebody emergency, we're always willing to drop what we're doing, pull our sleeve up, and join the game.
Okay.
For whatever well being it could be.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And that is definitely true because my grandfather that I spoke on a few weeks ago, he served as well. And if he saw somebody that was definitely in need or was beside the road, he would definitely turn around and make sure that they were okay. So I can definitely attest to that because I've seen it with my own eyes with my grandfather and my dad as well. So that's definitely a good trait to have and to continue on, because that is something that will kind of kick in, as you said, and it'll kind of overtake because that is something that you learn and continue to demonstrate. So that's really good to know. So, all right, we're about to go on a quick time travel back to the year 1984, way before my time and before I was thought of. I believe this is the year that you graduated from high school.
Correct.
So before we go any further with going into your story, what was it like in that year of 1984?
Hmm. Um, it was it was an experience. Young man, 18 years old. Matter of fact, it was really 1983 when I enlisted in the military. There was a career day came to my school, and they was talking about early enlistment that you could join in 11th grade, and then when your senior year, you was already enlisted. You just had to pack your bags and go.
Mm,
And I took that opportunity and I joined the army in 1983. And I really had no other plans to do anything besides that. So that was really, truly one of my career paths that I was looking at, even going from 11th to 12th grade. Um, and thank God I was able to get that experience because I really hadn't had a whole lot planned for college. Which looking back on life, you say you shoulda, coulda, woulda, but I would never take the experience from military. The military really taught me a lot of discipline. It gave me some kind of understanding of being responsible, being at a certain place at a certain time, doing what you're told, and
mm-hmm.
don't ask questions a lot of times. And it really helped shape and mold me as a young man, coming out of Martin County, working in the summer a little bit. Didn't really have a whole lot of things, but it gave me an opportunity to travel, see the world, meet
Mm,
different people. I never really meet strangers. That's just the way I am. But once I became in the military, the diversity in the military, whether it be Asian or Mexican or whatever, found a lot of friends, seen a lot of things, and learned a lot of things from other cultures as well.
so was this kind of like an individual, or a lot of times in high school it's like, okay, my friends are signing up for this, I'm gonna go with this. Was this something that you kind of made up your mind, or it was just like,
Well, um, I kind of did make my mind up because I at one time I wanted to be what a land surveyor, which I knew I had to go to college, and it was that or the military. And I guess being that I was offered that early in 11th grade, I was so excited. And I was looking forward to getting out of school and going forward in life that I jumped on that train that came through at that time in 11th grade.
hmm,
So literally when I graduated, I only had 10 days left, and I was off the face of town.
wow, so it was
Yeah,
like a quick transfer, like it
yeah.
really wasn't much time to kind of change your mind or
Nope,
anything.
nope.
So what did your parents have to say about this? Like, what did you kind of tell them, like, about what you were about to do?
Well, um, my dad was pretty cool with it. As a man, he's pretty cool with it. I guess he was pretty proud of me, leaving the area and trying to do some better things for myself. Well, the mother's love is gonna always kind of want to hold you, and
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
my goal was to go off into the military, and I wanted to help my family.
Okay.
So I told my mom and dad I was going off in the military and I was gonna send some money home to help them, while
Right.
I was away.
Right.
And I did just that every month. Just like I got paid, they got a allotment as well. So it was
Okay.
a blessing in disguise because I was able to help them learn, and try to find my way in life at the expense of learning new things.
Okay. So, next thing I would ask is, so once you decided to do all that kind of stuff, what was it about the army did you decide? Because I know it is a lot of different branches that you have options with. So, what was that kind of stuck out? Like, I'm not
uh,
going to do anything else. I'm going straight to the army.
well, it's kind of funny. I always wanted to go to Air Force. I'm not knocking Army. Army, I love you with Army strong. Always will be. My motto is do. Don't put off for tomorrow for what you can do today. That is our motto. I truly believe that. I believe in doing it now.
Mm-hmm.
But the Air Force was my goal. But when I went to the job fair at the 11th grade, the recruiter, he just, he came along and, they take you out to lunch and you see the
Mm-hmm.
uniform and like, I want to do that. So I
Mm-hmm.
was sold.
Right.
And even when I went off into basic training, my mom said that the Marines were calling looking for me. They wanted me.
Wow.
I had scored enough to go to the Marines, and she said, "Oh, he's already gone." So by me going in 11th grade,
Right.
I was already set for the Army.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was kind of already a mindset.
Yeah.
And I have experience in high school myself, where not only career day, but they do pop up at school with their nice uniforms and everybody's looking like, who is that? And they come over there with that pamphlet, or even now technology has updated where they'll text you and send you stuff in the mail on how you can benefit by joining, this branch. So I will say that time has definitely sped up with technology and like different ways to get people on board. But that does make sense, of course. During that time, that was kind of something that stuck out to you, and you kind of just went with it. So after, of course, leaving after those 10 days of graduation, not much time left. Where did you kind of go to at that part with basic training?
I went off to Fort Jackson, South Carolina on June the 19th. I remember the date just like it was.
Wow.
I graduated on the 9th of June. I was gone on the 19th. I went to basic training. And to be all honestly, I got the basic and I told my bunk buddy, I said, I'm going back home. And he says to me, you're not going back, because he was a military brat. His dad was a colonel. So he
Okay.
knew the military life. And it was
Okay.
like totally a new thing to me.
Correct.
And I said, I'm going home. He's like, no, you're not. So it worked out anyway. I had a bunk buddy that had, knew all about it. He was looking forward to it. He talked to me, and then that was the end of that. And I started marching my way on into my career and my experience at Fort Jackson. I stayed there for 8 weeks, doing the basic training, which you learn how to use your weapon. You're going on uh, 10, 20-mile road marches. You leave in the morning, you come back at night. It's checking your endurance. And one thing I truly learned about the military and being in basic training is we're taught the mind over matter, meaning your situation around you. If you just get your mind off your matter or focus on it in a positive way, you can find yourself going through it, because you your body can do more than you really can actually know it can do, until you push it to some limits. And sometimes we push things a little too far, but that's part of the mental strengthens that you earn and you learn and you grow into the type of things that we do in the military, that you are able to endure and make it, and you keep pushing and you find a way to get that inner strength, and it really helps you make all life decisions even now. That's why we always say, you act like you're from the military, but really we have structure, we have meaning to why we do what we do. So that's why it's the way it is, and it's across the board.
So it was like a conditioning where it kind of got you
Absolutely.
all together, all the way
Absolutely.
around. So you kind of course, kept your morals and values that you were taught from parents, but most importantly, your current situation and your current thinking was structured to do it this way that will benefit you in the long run. So that's always good, because a lot of times you do hear stories where they do basic training and they leave and come back home. And I've heard you say, and a lot of others say, like, that's the more vital time to stick with it, because they just think, oh my God, like they're just hurting us and I can't take it. It's like so much pressure, but they don't even know when you endure that situation, you come out even better and it's more rewarding. And that's with life itself, with situations that you deal with where it gets tough and it's just like, I want to give up, I want to give up, but you don't even realize how strong you are during that situation. So when you come out of it, you're even a better person. So absolutely, I encourage anyone, that child or anyone that you know that is currently in basic training, that you may be getting those phone calls or anything, take this advice and story. years later that it is worth it, that they can do it. Encourage them to stay, because in the long run, they may be sitting years later getting questioned like this guy who got all the experience and more, and can tell them how they overcame by just staying. So,
And one other thing I
yeah.
want to add, not to cut across you, if you have someone in basic training, if you have someone in the military, even if they're deployed, write them write them letters. If you mail them a
Mm-hmm.
letter every day, if you have to just say I love you and put it in a letter.
All right.
Everybody loves to get mail. Everybody be waiting for a certain time of basic. When we
Mm.
come in the afternoon after we done uh, had a conditioning drills, or we've been through camp today, or we went to the rifle range, and we get back, we out there, we shining our boots. We talking about home, we telling about each other, and then all of a sudden the sergeant comes around, mail time, and everybody jumping around waiting to see if they got a letter from home or even a care package. Now, care
Mm.
packages are very vital, very important, something that they're accustomed to, whether it be a moon pie or something their favorite from home.
Mm-hmm.
If you could just do something like that to help them, you just don't know how much that would help push them that next level. To know that family back at home is constantly thinking about them, writing them, and loving them. One thing you must know, when they go, they will not be the same when they come back. They will be a total package person, to the degree that they could be self-sufficient in a lot of ways that you probably would never thought they would be. So your support through the process is very vital.
And that's true, because I actually had two friends that went off, and I was actually able to go to their graduation, I believe in South Carolina. And then the other one I was able to write. And you are totally correct with that. Before, we was laughing, joking, ready to party, do stuff most 18, 19 year olds would do. But when they came back, they were all business oriented, all total respect. There was time structured and all that kind of stuff, which is fine, but that is so true. So it's very important to keep the lines of communications open and effective, because you just don't know what that would do to someone, how that will encourage them to keep going. So that's very important. So after basic training, what was next?
Next, I had to go to what they call your skill training, which is your AIT, what they call, where whatever your specialty is, whether you be a medic or whether you be a cook. My job was communication. I was a telephone repair, telephone radio repair or installation or operator. So I had the opportunity to be different jobs, support different type units. You could be anywhere into administration. You could be into the hospital. Is it all different jobs, transportation? But we all kind of commingle together. So my job was
Mm-hmm.
communication. I went to Augusta, Georgia. So what I was doing there for 8 weeks was learning my trade of what I was gonna. I had to qualify. I had to certify certain
Mm.
things each week in order to graduate again. I had another grad that was like a second graduation
Mm.
until I actually went out to my assignment.
Okay.
Yeah,
So during any of this time, were you able to like come back home or anything like
absolutely,
that?
absolutely. It was more freedom. Where when I went in basic, to be honest, back up to South Carolina, when I went to basic training, I went into the main front gate and I stayed 8 weeks on the base. And when I left, I went out the back gate and went to Georgia. And I never, that was the only time I was able to leave the base. For 2 months,
Wow.
I was on that base under their control to do whatever was needed. I never was
Oh,
allowed to come home.
wow.
I was only allowed to call home at times,
Mm.
certain on Sundays. I think we called on Sundays, but it won't many days you could call home at that time. So once I went to Augusta, Georgia, it was like work. So every day at 4 o'clock, you got home, you had the
Okay.
barracks. You were able to go off Augusta, Georgia. You can go down to the mall. You can go stay out all day or whatever
Okay.
you want to do. Some people stayed off base and some stayed in the barracks, which I stayed in the barracks because, like I say, I was still into the training process. So it was another experience. Every day we got up at 5:15. We ran 2 miles or 10 miles or 5 miles, whatever was
Mm.
on the agenda. We never knew. Sometimes you would leave running thinking you could go do that regular 2 miles, and then they say, "Oh, let's do another two." Like,
Oh,
what?
wow.
So you had to do in conditioning. So I'm very thankful for that opportunity. But that was my next step. It was Augusta, Georgia.
Augusta, Georgia. Okay.
Yeah.
So, with the of course, basic training, and now with the next step with actually learning your trade, did it ever get mentioned like you're actually gonna go to another country and kind of get drafted and all of
Well,
that kind of stuff?
that was all part of the process. So
Oh,
as your weeks went on, about into your sixth week or your fourth week, when you came in from school in the afternoon, everybody was in formation. And, we standing in ranks and the sergeant giving out the mail. And he said, okay, um, your your port of call for ones that are going overseas will be on the door. So soon the ranks broke, everybody run to the door to see where your name was. Um, I wanted to go to Panama at that time. That was my dream to go to Panama. I don't know what I guess I was gonna do jungle training. I don't know, but
oh
it was
wow.
just the thought of wanting to go to Panama. I didn't get to go to Panama. Um, Half of my classmates went to Germany. Germany is what a year
Wow.
and a half tour. So some of them went to Germany. Some of them were married, so they took their families with them. I was chosen to go to Korea. Korea is a hardship tour, so you only go for 1 year to Korea versus a year and a half.
Okay.
But at that time, you could not, unless you was permanently assigned, you couldn't take no family members. So if you was married, you couldn't take your family, and you had to go for 1 year. So that day when I ran to the door, my name was on the door, and it was Korea, and that's where I went after I left Augusta, Georgia.
So how did your family transition? Because before they thought, okay, he's just gonna be a couple hours away and all that kind of stuff. And then how did it take a toll on you? Because you're from what a county that population is what maybe 100, 200 people. You
More than that.
more than that now, but
Right.
back in
Right.
1984,
The
it's
community might have been a couple hundred.
right. And then you never kind of flown, you never experienced none of this. So
No.
how was it grasping the information and then you had to call back home and tell your parents like, I'm not leaving, to go to New York. I'm actually going to South Korea.
To be all honest, I can't really remember how I felt, but it was way out there because Korea, when I left to go to Korea, my flight was, I think it was 12 hours, 12 or 14 hours, nonstop.
Mm,
So when I left Seattle, Washington, I left on a Friday afternoon at
mm,
2 o'clock p.m. When that plane landed, it was Saturday night. So I missed a
wow.
whole day of 14 hours flying. So it was really, truly a experience because once you cross the international date line and all of that, it was like you couldn't just pick up the phone. Even back then, pages weren't even around during that time. You couldn't even pay someone, so you
Mm,
couldn't really just call internationally on the phone like you do
mm-hmm.
now. You had to
Correct.
you had to go to a facility and pay a certain amount of money to actually call home, and you had to do it at a certain time because it was normally night there at home where you'd be daytime in
Mm.
Korea. So it was an experience. It was totally a truly experience. It was like I was cut off from the rest of the world for a
How were your
year.
parents?
They were cool. They were cool with it. They went along with it. At that point, they could, we couldn't stop the force that the way I was going with what I had to do. So, they all was all committed, and the year went by pretty fast.
Mm.
I was blessed and fortunate enough when I got to my unit, I was selected as the captain's driver. So, how hard could it be driving the captain around the base?
Wow.
So that was really a blessing in a nutshell because I was very what you call green or the turtle. I didn't know anything. I hadn't experienced anything. I was just coming from my job. I was in the foreign country. I didn't know the language. I was learning how to be a soldier. And my captain, he was probably a few years older than me, but he was kind of young too. So he knew I didn't know much. So he taught me a lot. Whereas I would take him different places, and he would get on choppers and Black Hawk helicopters and fly to different sites because I was in the communication unit. So
Mhm. Mhm.
what happens with communication when we were overseas like that? What we would do, we would be like a relay site. So we would relay the communication from the front line back to the rear of the which is where the offices are versus the people out in the field.
Mm.
So he would get me to come along with him, and he'll say, "You never rode a block car before." I said, "No, I have." He's, "Come on, you gonna ride one today." So he learned me a lot of stuff. He
That's
showed me a lot of
good.
stuff in the military. So after about 6 months, he said, "Look, I don't want you to be my driver for a year. You don't know your job, so you need to go and do your job." But guess what? My job was. My job was on a hill about 10,000 feet in the air. It had Korean soldiers with security. So it was just like a real sci-fi movie or whatever you want to call it. We was in a bunker. I had to pull 8 hour shifts in a bunker monitoring radios. Where the radios, we were like the midway point. We was like 20 miles from the DMZ. You hear them talking about North Korea and the DMZ. I
Mm-hmm.
was about 20 miles from the DMZ, where we was responsible for radio here to talk to the Jeeps down on the front line versus somebody in the big house down in Busan, which was or in Seoul, Korea somewhere. So we was like the relay point. So it was truly experience. So I had to do two 8 hour shifts. So I would do 2 days, two second shifts, and then I would do two night shifts. So it was 8 hours from 11 to 7 at night. You would be down in the bunker by yourself. And we monitored a radio station. So this station was called KC39er. So anytime you hear somebody say KC39er, you had to respond, "This is KC39er. May I help you?" And they say, "I got a dust off." So you start to shaking then, because a dust off means they calling in a help. They need a medical plane, like an ambulance, but it'd be a plane to come in because somebody's got hurt on the line or something. So you there scrambling
Mm.
around. So you try, you there by yourself. You can't call your sergeant or somebody because
Right.
everybody else is asleep.
Mm-hmm.
So you literally have to get them a grid coordinates to tell them where they need to land this plane. So you want to make sure you looking
Mm.
at your map, your information correct. You don't want this plane to cross the DMZ and it causes a war or whatever. So it really was an experience. And like I said, it was very diverse because I knew people from Texas, Florida, Alabama, all over the country with different cultures, different backgrounds, different way of thinking and doing things. And we all became a family, and we networked together to do the common good of the military.
Did you see like any interpreters or different such because you was like in another country?
You were your own interpreter. You learned the basic information. Even me,
Ah.
I had to learn some of the basic words that the Koreans say, because of course you know now. Sometimes when I have a little jokey with you, I might say something in a Korean language, and
Yes.
we have a little fun about it. But that's part of the adjustment. Where you at, you have to adjust and learn.
Mm-hmm.
And even when I was in Korea, it was kind of funny because my roommate was Korean, because in Korea,
Hmm.
South Korea, it's mandated that every male has to serve 2 years in the military from 18 to 25.
Wow.
So if they want to go to college for 4 years, they can go on to college. But before they get 25, they have to serve 2 years in the United States military beside us. So it's not the Korean army. It's with the United States Army, but they're Korean. They're actually Korean civilians, but they are part of our army in that country to protect their
Okay.
country. So every
Understand.
every male has to serve that. So that was another experience. So my roommate had a Korean roommate named Kim. I would talk to him a lot. He learned me a lot. He showed me different things about their culture. So that was a new experience to have, to be a roommate with him and
Wow.
meet him. And then the thing about it was you get to meet people, but after that time, it get a little sad because you become friends and then they leave before you do, and then you still
Mm-hmm.
got to wait your turn before you go. And
Right.
then after a while, you're passing the baton off to someone else, where you're showing someone else the way how to learn and to adjust to the culture while they're there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that was like an overall experience where, of course, you're continuing to better yourself, but you're also learning different trades. You're learning how to fellowship and interact with different people other than yourself. You're also learning different languages. It was just a whole learning experience for you
Yep.
that you could, of course, come back and share with others, but
Mhm.
also something that you have as background that you could share and tell your story to others that may was not in South Korea, may were somewhere else, and y'all can kind of come together and share.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I heard you say about like communications and stuff, how you couldn't call, but nowadays, Thanksgiving and Christmas time, you can look on the news and see how others have been deployed and can share how they want to say hello to their family and
Yep.
kids and stuff like that. So it just lets you know that how times have changed and how technology, where you probably can make a call now, you can even have your story broadcast on the news.
Probably FaceTime now too.
FaceTime now. It's probably story and reporters that can go over there now. So it's just so much now that time has just changed, but for the better, because communication can be done in so many different ways now. So we want to salute anyone that is currently deployed, anyone of your family members or friends that you know that are currently deployed. We definitely thank you for your time that is being served. We know that it is hard to be away from family and friends, but to know that it is something that is being done in honor, of course, of serving the United States, but most importantly, things that you can share with your kids years later and how it can better yourself in the long run. Because some people stay for a long time in the military. I know with you, you served 7 years, but some people actually stay
They retire and get 20
retire through
years.
it and everything. So they
Yes.
make it an actual full time career and bring on their family and kids. And like you said, what back in basic training, how the guy taught you because his dad was active and
Yeah.
all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like a generational thing. They pass it down to their kids, and before you know it, it'll be a generation worth of people that have served in the military,
Veterans.
which is pretty cool. I found that it's pretty cool because everybody can share their stories, and it can be different branches of the military. So some may go to the Navy, some may do Air Force, some may do Army. So it is a community. I know some people on Facebook and different such start groups for support for their wives and such and kids, because they do take their families with them sometimes, so
Mhm.
they need that support as well. So that's really good to know.
And I would like to say this, for any young person, male or female. I know times are not the same as they used to be. The military is totally not. Uh, it's a little more intense with technology. They do things totally different from what I was in years ago.
All right.
But if you don't have any plans, if you don't have any goals to go to college, if you don't have any future endeavors, a job waiting after school, look at the military. Military can give you a lift, a uplift in life, whether it could be going off just to get the college fund to pay your college off, or just to go to get the experience under
Correct.
your belt to get away. Veterans has preference. We have preference in a lot of areas in jobs, in different areas. The postal service, they love veterans because they know you're committed to whatever you commit to
Correct.
wholeheartedly, and you try to do your best at all times. So there's structure, there's always reward behind that. So I encourage you, if you know anyone that wants to have a future and it's secured, and all they got to do is give their time, because
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna belong to the government during that period, and that's okay. That's really okay, because you're gonna win all the way around. It's gonna really benefit you. There's a lot of resources out there. There are a lot of different programs for veterans that have already been in the military that have are going through some things or need some help, or whether it be your health, or whether you need to get your claim in. There, the American Legion posts in your local DAV, and every town has a local DAV. Or you could go to the Durham VA. You can go to the Greenville VA facility. There are different huts across the state that you can go in, and they can help you pull your medical records from the past. They can
Wow.
pull your information. They can help you file your claim. They can put you towards getting the benefits that you earned for being in the military. Some people feel shame for going because we were taught be strong, Don't be a wimp. Don't go to sick call. Don't complain. But on
Mm-hmm.
the inside, we carry a lot of burdens and we don't seek help. But there's help out there for you. Don't look down on yourself or count yourself out because you're going for help. I think that's a good thing because there are different programs, a lot of resources, a lot of information out there. People are waiting to meet you and see you and take care of your needs.
Well, that is good resources and good help that he shared with you guys, because you never know what you may come across or who you may come across that may benefit, or you yourself. So, fast forward, you served the time in the military. This is the year 2023. You've already given your advice to someone that is considering or thinking about it, or someone that you know that you may encourage. You gave your resources. So, looking back, would there be anything different that you would do, or you would just kind of stick with the path that you kind of went with?
I say it all the time. I would not take nothing from my experience in the military. I wouldn't do it. No, I wouldn't do it no other way. Even the time that I spent 3 years active and 4 years reserve, I had intended to stay longer, but my father got sick. I'm a daddy's and a mama's boy, so I didn't like the distance that I could not just jump in my car and go find them.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, I was still a little young. I probably was maybe 20, 21, going on 2021. So I decided to come home, and I had a 7 year obligation, so that I would do the rest of it in reserves. So at some point in time in life, I used to say, "Well, I wish I had stayed." But now I look back on my life, I wouldn't have did it no other way. I'm truly blessed in a lot of different ways. And like I say, being a veteran, being in the military, I have preference in a lot of areas. I get a lot of privilege. We, you know, you see, you go to Lowe's, we got the veterans parking where we have preference.
That's true.
You go to certain places, we got a park for us at the mall or different places.
Discounts and different
Discounts,
such. So,
yes, yes. So those are some of the kickbacks that are automatic for veterans that serve. So I encourage you, if you're not trying to go to college or anything, try the military. There are bonuses and all kinds of things out there for you.
gotcha. Well, I think that we have covered all things that I hope that was resourceful to you. I hope his story has encouraged anyone that you may know. And most importantly, it encouraged you to tell your story to your family, your friends, or any platform that is given to you, because that'll be how you can continue to tell your story and continue to help others. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in to the Keep It Connected podcast show. Please share this with someone that may be beneficial too. I want to thank my dad, Jeff, for tuning
You're
in.
welcome.
I hope you'll see his face more on different topics. But most importantly, I want to be sure that you remember that those connections that you continue to make and continue to encounter are positive ones. Until next time, I want to thank you for tuning in, and we will see you later.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.